talk about what we're doing to white people. There's been something going on for a while now that we're being told not to notice. More to the point, that we're asking white people not only to ignore, but to accept. The rising tide of racial hatred against white people. In the past decade, there has been a noticeable cultural shift in what constitutes acceptable speech as it relates to white people. Back when I was a kid, in the early 2000s, the mainstream American culture preached about respecting each other's differences and not seeing color. Nowadays, we say that not seeing color is racism, that you must see color. But the more I see how things are unfolding, the more I'm convinced that this is wrong. Back then, saying something offhanded about white people were seen as not appropriate, just as it would be to say something offhanded about people of any other race. But that soon gave way to our current times, in which there exists virtually no limit to what racial minorities can and do say about white people. I believe this is the natural outgrowth of a perverse ideology that teaches us that every societal ill, is the fault of white people, and that whatever prejudice acts we may inflict upon them does not constitute discrimination because we don't have the power to discriminate. And alarmingly, this is particularly pronounced in the younger generation. But is it true? Do we not have the power to discriminate? Well, let's see. First, let's take a look at the racial hatred at the interpersonal level. In today's society, it has become somewhat fashionable.
I agree with a lot of what he's saying so far. Like, especially when he's saying early 2000s, you've seen it, but now it's on it's on a level that I never seen it before. And I notice it's being pushed more because now that we have the internet, things are more accessible than it was back in the early 2000s and stuff and years like that. Now, everything's on social media, and I notice a lot of people that you think would be more responsible and more mature in the way they handle things and the way they discuss things. I see a lot of celebrities pushing this agenda towards that. Everything they post is about white on black, white on black. They never post black on black. It's mostly white on black, white on black. Even if the black person is wrong, they try to switch the narrative somehow that it's a white person's fault. Even if you just a regular white person just living your life. And I think that's wrong. I don't know why or what his agenda came from. And I'm talking about older celebrities. Celebrities that are like late 50s, early 60s, years old. That means they should have more knowledge than us. But they don't act that way. I don't know what's the agenda behind it.
To think things and say things about and to white people that would not be acceptable if it was said about any other race. And we're being taught that this double standard is not wrong, that it is rather a form of empowerment. They'll attribute negative experiences that they've had with white people to their whiteness. You had an argument in line at the grocery store with a white person? They were acting entitled because they were white. A white driver cut you off when you were driving? They need to check their white privilege. Your actions, your conduct, and your existence, in other words, boil down to your whiteness. And ashamedly, at one point in time, this was how I used to think as well. And beyond the people in my circle, I noticed that many people of color have this sort of blasé attitude, an attitude most particularly pronounced when there are no other white people around. Things are being said not just behind closed doors, but out in the open, not just between close friends, but between complete strangers. So here's the thing. This is something that I've experienced countless times, so I know that there are other people who are experiencing it too. I know it must resonate with at least some of you. The difficulty here is that no matter how many anecdotes I share, they are just that, anecdotes. And people who refuse to believe that this is happening will just chalk it up to my experiences being a fluke. Or worse yet, they'll say I'm lying. So I've compiled some TikTok videos. I want you to take a look at the things that are being said about white people, especially by the younger generation, the kind of statements people wouldn't dare say about people of any other race. Take a look at what is stunningly in vogue in today's society, and ask yourselves, where does this lead to years down the line?
You have a token white, and you're hanging out with your friend group of color, you need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend. Like, don't just bring them. I might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans that day. That's all I'm saying. And another thing, it feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good white person.
Accomplices ask, how can they support Black and Indigenous people of color? And sometimes I really don't know what to say, but here's one easy way. Just don't have babies.
Women can single-handedly cause the white genocide that they are so afraid of. With 2.25 billion Asian women and 500 million white men, baby, it'll only take 2 generations. In 2 generations, there will no longer be any blonde-haired.
These are some things I noticed about white American culture. Being grounded is a punishment to them. That's what they call punishment. The least grounded, least balanced, most destructive race considers being grounded a punishment? Yeah. They also say really violent phrases. They say things like, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Why do we have to kill the birds? Why is everything so violent? It's almost like one's language and phrases reflects one's nature.
What?
So that new.
Why it gotta be so violent? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's saying it's been around for like forever. And violence? Are we gonna talk about violence? We know what happened in slavery. We know how brutal it was. But in 2022 and 2023, are we gonna talk about violence? When the black community is just on a rampage towards our own people with violence, drive-bys, home invasion, shootings, killings, so we just gonna ignore all of that and just somehow say it was white men. I might get shot by somebody the same color as me, and because I got shot by somebody the same color as me, I'm gonna blame the white man. Is that what we're doing? Unbelievable.
Jeffrey Dahmer movie on Netflix is the perfect
I haven't watched that yet.
example of the sensationalization of white violence. People have a much easier time sympathizing with white criminals than they do with black victims. People think these shows are harmless, but they actually contribute to a much bigger issue. It contributes to the viewpoint that white people are less violent than everyone else, and white violence is something to be consumed in media, and that's it.
What is with Caucasian?
So, you don't think shows drug dealing in the black community, gangs, shooting, criminal activities is wrong? When it's actually portraying what's really happening in the black community with the violence? No. These are people that are just delusional. These are people that should never be on the internet, to be honest with you, because this is just delusion. We just go to ignore everything that happened in the black community, and somehow we can focus on white people problems. We just refuse to focus on our problems in our own community. We just gonna go over to their community, and we're just gonna just talk the most ridiculous things that we could talk about. Anything that happens to us, to our own people, we are gonna blame them somehow, some way, shape, or form. Is that what we're gonna be doing? This is just ridiculous. This is why the internet is good and bad, and this is the bad parts of having the internet. And we have this type of people on the internet spreading this disease into this the younger generation that's coming up right now. When we should be teaching them how far we came to where we at now and what we should be focusing on. But no, we're not doing that. We're just not gonna do that.
People in like their inability to like read a fucking room. Like y'all act like you don't understand shit because y'all be the first ones during a conversation about the Holocaust to get so mad when black people be like, you do realize that the original Jewish people were black, right? White people do not need to explain to anybody about us all bleeding red because, baby, you all are the people that need to learn that lesson. Clearly, history shows that you all are the people that like to pillage and eradicate, enslave and oppress, attempt to suppress greatness because you all simply don't have it.
Right? Here go y'all come guys.
How about we knowing how far we came from slavery and not able to do the things that we could have did. Well, our ancestors, because they're the ones that experienced that, to what we have now. We have a lot more freedom that they did back then, and that's facts. So we ain't that thing going to. We're going to ignore all of that. And what did she just say? She also just said So we should have known that. So now that we know that, we should work as a community and come together and do what we gotta do for our people. Just like what the white people do for their people and the Jews do for their people. No. We're just gonna keep playing this victim card.
Goblins who don't even live in the fucking city. Which, by the way, the Q-tip people are the last ones to ever talk about somebody stealing anything. Y'all wouldn't be in this country had it not been for y'all stealing it. So y'all are more focused on people looting and trying to get necessities and things that they need. And yes, a TV is a fucking necessity thing. You feel like you're better than because people are out here stealing and you would never. First of all, if you are a Mayo monster, that is how your ancestors got everything, from stealing. People are,
And that's a behavior that
Since you're saying that, so if somebody break into your house, let's let them take your TV. Don't call the cops, because if you do call the cops, it's a 90% chance it's gonna be a white man. I'm just saying.
it's very common among white women. You may have not intended that, but there are many white women who act exactly like you.
If you can find it in your heart this holiday season to donate to the Discriminated White Fund, you'd be helping millions.
Nothing says high protein like cicadas and cheese. Make sure you...
And nothing says caucasity like that right there.
What caucasity looks like. Roaming Asian grocery stores like it's an amusement park.
Explain to me why white people don't wear shoes outdoor, but wear shoes inside.
We are both white women. We are inherently a danger in spaces for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color simply by existing.
It's white cis men who are a part of the far right-winged ideology of fascism. That is a true threat and the terrorism to this country.
If BIPOC stand in the street and scream at the top of their lungs, I hate all white people, I want all white people to go die, die white devil, you cracker bitch, that's still not racism.
You're not one of the good white people. Stop separating us from the bad white people. Don't sit out there in comments and say, we don't claim them. We are them. We are the ones shooting up schools. We are the ones raping people, the ones enslaving people.
And I'll say it. I hate being white. Which means I'm one of the good ones.
All white people are inherently racist.
Yeah.
Can you be racist against white people?
Based off of the definition of racism, yes, but it's not gonna hurt them and hurt their opportunities like it does people of color.
While technically you can, it's not like an issue.
You can't oppress the oppressor.
It helps you sleep at night. I'm racist to white people.
Did she just say what?
An issue.
You can't oppress.
You can't oppress the oppressor. I just don't understand why we all just accept what it is. There is going to be systemic racism. Not as people making it to be, not as bad as they're making it out to be, but it is going to be that. But we have so much. The thing is that, yes, we know racism still exists. Still exists. But I can tell when last I walked into a KKK member or a racist person that tried to chase me down and harm me. In my 30-something years, never. So what are we talking about? I'm more likely, but put it this way, I got more harassed by people my own color than somebody that was white.
Oppress the oppressor.
It helps you sleep at night. I'm racist to white people, and I'm proud of it.
Why do people not understand that you can't be racist to white people? It's impossible. The system is not set up that way. You can insult white people, but it is not racism. Me calling a white person a tub of mayonnaise and like a flower-looking ass, that's not racist.
That is racist. If they say it the other way, black, and they call you the N-word, or you know what I'm saying, you look black as a... That is racist. Doesn't matter how you flip the coin, or because their ancestors did the oppressor. You can't punish everybody for what somebody did in the past. It's like me punishing my current girlfriend for what my exes did. when she wasn't even around. You see how dumb that sounds? People are just, no wonder why people with such a mental breakdown, and they don't know who they are. They want to be this, they're non-binaries. They're all confused. It's too much information on the internet. Stay off. Go outside, take some fresh air, enjoy the weather.
Went all the way to Africa to physically take black people from their homes, shove them in on boats where a lot of them got diseases and died, told them where they could sit on a bus, told them which schools they could go to, which water fountains they could use, which bathrooms they could use, and that's sugarcoating it. Those are just terms. I'm not even describing all the disgusting things that happen, and they don't even want revenge. They are letting you guys skate by asking for equal rights. That's it? And you're still saying no? They are not as angry as they should be. Y'all are getting off easy and you're still saying no? Fuck you.
Some people look at that and...
First of all, that same phone you got in your hand while you're recording for the Instagram, go back and look up how slavery all started. Right? Do me that favor first. You sound like you don't want this person that you heard the rumors of white people going over there to Africa and taking the slaves. No, Africans, tribes were selling their own people. They were conquering other close Africans and taking them and selling them, trading them, and all. It goes on and on. It was their own people that did that to them. White men took advantage of it. That was it. It's the same thing what goes on right now. Who does the most harm to black people right now in the 2020s? Black people. To our own people. So you see where this is going? I can't. The stupidity that's out of control.
Chalk it up to the grumblings of the powerless. That's the idea that when you have a power disparity, the less powerful sort of has this general society given leeway to complain about the more powerful. The villagers complaining about their king doesn't have the same ring as the king making snide and crude comments about the villagers. But that's not what's going on here. Because although certain segments of our society refuse to believe this, even as evidence mount before our very eyes, in one side of the political aisle, people of color actually have greater power than white people. That is the truth that is not being acknowledged by the people that need to hear it, because this gets in the way of them wielding that power in the way they want, malignantly. I've heard from somewhere that politics is downstream of culture, and I think that is certainly correct. We have a mainstream culture that tells us it's okay to hold prejudice and hateful view of white people, and our politics is then infused with this energy, and we see active, overt, and on-the-books racial discrimination of white people that those who are perpetuating this hatred is refusing to see as discrimination. They'll say, no, this is remediation. These are the same people who are making tenuous arguments that some of our race-neutral laws discriminate against people of color. And this is certainly evidence that in one side of the political aisle, people of color have more power than white people. Because if we didn't have the power, we wouldn't be able to put into place practices and policies that does this. That's what power is. Things like Minneapolis local government agreeing to a contract with the teachers union that says white teachers must be fired first. New York City's government enacting a policy of having white seniors go to the back of the line on life-saving COVID treatment. A college professor that says white people should be killed and facing no repercussions. Cornell University banning white people from rock climbing lessons. One of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize white students. BIPOC only events equal no whites, but they don't have the guts to say that, even though that is what that is. That's what makes this different than the mere grumblings of the common villager. The villagers have surrounded the palace, demanding Marie Antoinette's head. The power dynamics have shifted. That is a fact. Progressive media outlets do not cover these stories. Some people out there have no idea that this is going on. But worse, some others out there know but agree with what's going on. And for those people to convince themselves that this is not racial discrimination, they play mind tricks and word games. They use phrases and talking points like punching up. You can't be racist to white people. You can't oppress the oppressor, meaning I'm acting oppressively, but I've designated you as the oppressor, so everything goes. Or Ibram X. Kendi's infamous words, the only way to remedy past discrimination is current discrimination. Or when people say things like, what we're doing to white people is not racism because racism is prejudice plus power and we don't have the power. They use all this mind-bending apparatus to delude themselves into believing what they're doing faces no moral quandary. But in the back of their minds, perhaps in their subconscious minds, is racial revenge. We experienced it, you experienced it too. See how you like it. That people of color are using our newfound power to act this way and then pretend like none of this is going on leads me to believe that we would have done the same thing that white people did were we to be in their historical position. Because such acts have its roots in human nature, not white people nature. And one can only imagine what might happen in the coming decades when the demographics of the US will have shifted such that white people will no longer constitute the majority, when the younger generation you've just seen have graduated from elite schools and hold positions of power in our institutions, our government, corporations, entertainment, news media, and so forth, how they might, in wielding the levers of society, be able to rationalize, using their adult brain, the hatred that was embedded in their minds during their adolescence. What we're seeing is just the beginning. To the white people who are watching, I just want to say, you are not an oppressor for refusing to accept an ideology that teaches people to hate you, that teaches you that you are inherently bad, that your children are inherently bad, that you are inherently racist no matter what you do or how you think, that you need to repent by taking affirmative steps in your life to redress harms that your ancestors may have done, or the racist actions of other white people. In fact, you are not an oppressor, period. You did not choose to be born white, just like any of us did not choose to be born in our race. And to ask of you, at the individual level, for example, to give your life in service of people of color, to be used as physical barriers at protests, to give away your house to black people instead of your children, all actual things that have been publicly demanded of white people, to ask this of you is morally reprehensible collective punishment. You are not under any obligation to carry yourself in any sort of way that others demand of you just because of the color of your skin. This, you need to do this and you need to do that because you benefit from privilege thing is bogus. It is just a way for people harboring racial animus to attack you, to say that the accomplishments you've achieved in your life isn't yours, and to silence you. It is not you. It is this ideology that is wrong and perverse. It is one cloaked in a shroud of pseudo-justice and self-righteousness, all the while excreting toxic fumes of racial hatred. It blames all white people for the actions of their ancestors, something you have no control over, while absolving black people of personal responsibility for their own individual actions by holding that black people commit acts of harm, for example, towards another community. That's the fault of white supremacy. White people are controlling them like puppets on a string. It's a backwards, transgressive ideology. If you don't harbor any hate in your heart but want to fight it as a matter of principle, this does not make you racist or bigoted. If you refuse to accept their premise in your head, but are too afraid to voice your opinion, you're neither a coward nor a bad person. If you're of a liberal bent, but there's a small corner in your brain telling you as you're watching this video that perhaps some of this is wrong, listen to your intuition. Maybe you think, oh, I agree with most of what the progressive left teaches about racial justice, but just not with some of this disagreeable stuff, only at the extremes. I'm here to tell you that the rot starts at the core. This racial hatred of white people is a natural outgrowth, part and parcel of an ideology that attempts to indoctrinate us into believing that there is current systemic oppression going on, that all racial disparities we see today is the sole result of oppression by white people, when there are other more plausible explanations to be had that these same people are silencing as impermissible hate speech. They're telling you, shut up, you'll take it, and you'll like it. But contrary to what they're saying, you don't have to take that. You can believe that the things that have been done in the past were morally wrong, as well you should, all the while believing that what is currently going on is also wrong, that we're going backwards, that this is history rhyming with itself. The table is turning in an eye for an eye manner. As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. But those driven by hatred would sooner gouge everyone's eyes out than realize that true victory for people of color would have been having history record that when the power dynamics shifted, we treated white people with a kindness that their forefathers may not have shown our forefathers. But now, it will say when we gained the power, we turned around and started doing some of the same stuff to white people. Segregation, social ostracization, hatred sanctioned by government and law. And we're doing all of this while pretending like we're doing something valiant. We've missed our bus, but that doesn't mean that there can't be a course correction. So, to some people of color watching who are engaging in this sort of hatred, whether or not you're acutely aware, the same people that act like white people as a collective are not people, but rather some pernicious alien force that has come to invade the earth. With this video, I implore you to ask yourself, what are we doing to white people? As some people love to say, do better.
Totally agree with what he said. Give you guys think about what he said in the video and all the clips that was in the video. I pretty much said everything I had to say, but as a community, we gotta do better. We gotta learn how to move forward and stop letting people program us to think otherwise, because we gotta realize how far we came in life and all the opportunities that we got now compared to our ancestors who pretty much then had an opportunity. They didn't have a say. So I pretty much agree with everything that he said. We gotta do better, man. And in the black community, when something bad happens, who do we call? We call the law enforcement. Who's likely to show up? A white man. If you feel some type of way, or you want to do with white man, then don't call the law enforcement. Deal with it. But we gotta do better. We gotta move forward. And all these people that's pushing this hatred to white people and you're saying it's not racist, sorry to bust your bubble, it is racist. Hey, until then, I'll catch you guys next video. And one thing I want to say, my life, I have gotten a better life. All because of a white man that had faith in me and gave me the opportunity of a lifetime, and I took it. And I was able to get a job with making almost $100,000 a year. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.